Hello students, how are you all? This is Anup sir, your English teacher from Devashya International Public School. Today we will understand a literature's topic. In this video, we will understand the lesson The Best Christmas Present in the World, which is written by Michael Morpurgo.
So students, let's begin with the lesson. I spotted it in a junk shop in Bridport, a roll-top desk. The man said it was early 19th century and oak. I had wanted one, but they were too expensive. Now here, the writer is talking about himself. He says that once when he was walking on the road, he saw a roll-top desk in a shop which sells old things. Now, he wanted one roll-top desk from a long time, but he thought that it was too expensive to purchase. That means the roll-top desk costs a lot. This one was in a bad condition, the roll-top in several pieces. One leg clumsily mended, scratch marks all down one side. Now here, the writer is trying to say that this roll-top desk was in a very bad condition. The roll top was almost come out from the desk, and one leg of this roll top desk was clumsily mended. That means it was very badly repaired, and there were even burn marks on the one side of this table. It was going for a very little money. I thought I could restore it. It would be a risk, a challenge, but I had to have it. So here the writer is saying that this man, the person at the junk shop, was selling this roll top desk at a very cheap price. So he thought that he could purchase this roll top desk and he could repair it properly and he could use it. So he even thought that it would be a risk and it would be a challenge to repair this very old table, but he bought it. I paid the man and brought it back to my workroom at the back of the garage. I began work on it on Christmas Eve. Now here, the writer is saying that he purchased this roll-top desk from the junk shop and he brought this table at the back of his garage, that is the workroom, and he began to repair this roll-top desk in Christmas evening. I removed the roll-top completely and pulled out the drawers. The veneer had lifted almost everywhere. It looked like water damage to me. Now here, the writer is saying that when he started working on this roll-top desk, he pulled out the drawers and he removed the upper part of this roll-top desk. And when he saw clearly, he saw that the upper part of this roll-top, when we put a covering on a wood furniture, that covering is said to be the veneer. We call it Sanmaika. All right. So there was this veneer was completely damaged, and it looked like it was damaged from water. Both fire and water had clearly taken their toll on this desk. The last drawer was stuck fast. I tried all I could to ease it out gently. In the end, I used brutal force. Now here, the writer is saying when he was trying to repair this table, he saw that this table was damaged from fire and water too. It seems that this table was burnt, and to put out that fire, water was used. So this table was damaged from fire and water too. Now he was trying to repair this table, and when he was repairing it, he saw that the last drawer of this table, which is given in the photo, the last drawer of this table was stuck fast. That means it was stuck inside, it was not opening. So the writer tried to remove this drawer gently with a light force, but it wasn't coming out. At last, the writer pulled it with a very hard force, and at last the drawer opened. I struck it sharply with the side of my fist, and the drawer flew open to reveal a shallow space beneath, a secret drawer. There was something in there. I reached in and took out a small tin box. Now here, the writer is saying that when he was trying to open the last drawer, it wasn't opening. So he hit the roll-top desk with his hand, and when he hit, the last drawer opened easily. And after that, when he opened the drawer, he saw that there was something kept inside this drawer. He put his hand inside the drawer and he took out a tin box which was inside this drawer. Sellotaped to the top of it was a piece of lined notepaper and written on it in shaky handwriting, Jim's last letter received January 25, 1915. Now, when this writer took out this tin box out of that last drawer, he found that on this tin box there was a note stuck on it, and on this note, with a very shaky band handwriting, it was written that inside this tin box there is a letter which is written by Jim, and this letter was received on January 25, 1915. To be buried with me when the time comes. I knew, as I did it, that it was wrong of me to open the box, but curiosity got the better of my scruples. It usually does. Further, it is written on this note that this letter should be buried with the person who wrote this note, which is stuck on this tin box. Now, when the writer reads this note, he gets curious to read this letter. He feels that what is written in this letter. Now, one side he feels that it's wrong to read this letter, and the other side he cannot stop himself from reading this letter. Inside the box, there was an envelope. The address read Mrs. Jim Macpherson, 12, Copper Beeches, Bridport, Dorset. I took out the letter and unfolded it. It was written in pencil and dated at the top December 26, 1914. When the writer opened this tin box, he found an envelope inside this tin box. And this envelope was named to Mrs. Jim Macpherson, and below this name, an address was written on it. And the address was 12 Copper Beeches, Bridport, Dorset. Now, the writer opened this envelope and unfolded this letter. When he opened this letter, he found that this letter was written in pencil, and on the top of this letter, there was a date written, and that date was December 26, 1914. This is the date on which this letter was written, and above this paragraph, there is another date, that is January 25th, 1915. That was the date on which the letter was received by Mrs. Jim Macpherson. Dearest Coney. Now the writer starts reading this letter, and from here we come to know that this letter is written to Coney. Her full name is Coney Jim Macpherson, and the person who wrote this letter is Jim Macpherson. I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened that I must tell you about at once. This letter is written by Jim Macpherson to Coney, and he writes that this note has been written in a very happy mood, and he says that something wonderful just happened with him and a good incident happened. So he wants to share this incident with Miss Coney, so he writes this letter. We were all standing to in our trenches yesterday morning, Christmas morning. It was crisp and quiet all about, as beautiful a morning as I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. When the writer opened this letter, a date was written on the top, and that date was December 26. So from this date, we come to know that this letter was written one day after Christmas, because Christmas comes on 25th December every year. So this letter was written one day after Christmas, and the month was December. And we know that December is the month of winter. So there was a lot of cold, chill around, and the environment was very beautiful. As the Jim Macpherson says in this letter, that the morning was full of cold and frosty, and this letter was written one day after Christmas. Jim Macpherson further writes in this letter that they all were standing in the trenches. Now, trenches is a whole kind of thing which is dug on the ground to have a defense. That means to protect themselves from something. Normally, these trenches are dug on the border side. The soldiers stand in these dug hole to protect themselves from the army which is standing on the opposite side. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the truth, I am ashamed to say it's that Fritz began it. Now, Fritz is the name used for people in German. It's a common name used for German people. Now, here the Jim McPherson further says that he would like to say that they all began it. That means the people from Jim McPherson's side began this, but it's not true. The Fids began it. That means the people from German side began it. So he was ashamed to say this. First, someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land, "Happy Christmas, Tommy." Now, Tommy is the common name used for English people, that is the British people. Now, he's saying that the people from German side started to wave the white flag. Now, a white flag is waved to stop a war or to stop a dispute. So, someone from the German side waved a white flag and they said Happy Christmas. Now, they said a Happy Christmas to the people from Britishers side, that is from the Jim McPherson's side. Happy Christmas. When we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, "Same to you, Fitz, same to you." Now, when Jim McPherson hears Happy Christmas from the enemy's side, he feels very surprised. And when this surprise was almost over, someone from Jim McPherson's side, that is the Britishers' side, shouted again, "Same to you, Fitz, same to you." That means someone from Jim McPherson's side wishes Happy Christmas back to the enemy's side. I thought that would be that. We all did. But then suddenly, one of them was up there in his grey greatcoat and waving a white flag. "Don't shoot, lads," someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another Fitz up on that parapet, and another. "Keep your heads down," I told the men. It's a trick, but it wasn't. Now, students, as we know that when there is a war between two countries, there are army men standing opposite one another. The same situation is explained here in this letter. There are Britishers and the German people standing opposite one another. This person, Jim McPherson, is on the Britishers side. So he's saying that once these people stopped wishing, there was another surprise that one of the German men came out of his trenches and stood on the no man's ground. That is the ground between two army men. And he came out of that trenches and he started saying that do not shoot, and he waved a white flag towards this British people. And after that, one by one, all the army men from the German side stood up on the ground and they were trying to be friendly. Now here, Jim McPherson, who's the head of this army on the Britisher side, tells his army men to keep their head down because he's scared that it might be a trick to kill these men, but it wasn't a trick. One of the German men was waving a bottle above his head. "It is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have snaps. We have sausages. We meet you." Yes, by this time there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land, and not a rifle between them. Now, as we know that this letter is written by Jim McPherson to Coney. Now he's telling Coney that the German men was trying to be friendly with us. They were showing us that they have food and drinks with them and they can enjoy together. Now these German people started walking towards the Britishers. They came towards them and there were no guns or rifles with them. They were just trying to enjoy and be friendly with the Britishers. Little Private Morris was the first up. "Come on, boys, What are you waiting for? And then there was no stopping them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose, but the truth is that it never even occurred to me I should. All along their line and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another, grey coats, khaki coats meeting in the middle. Here, on the war side, there were two armies opposite one another. The first one was the German soldiers, and the other side was the British soldiers. Now, here Jim McPherson is saying that the German soldiers tried to be friendly first. They started walking towards the Britishers, and after that, from the Britishers' side, there was one man named Little Private Morris who came out of his hole, that is, the trenches dug in the ground. He came out of it and he called his other friends, that is, the soldiers from the Britishers. He called them, he said that what are they waiting for? They should come out and enjoy this evening, that is, the Christmas evening. Jim McPherson further says that he was the head of this British soldiers. He should have stopped everyone to meet each other, but it did not come into his head to stop them. And I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. Here, Jim McPherson is saying that as he was the head of this army from the Britishers' side, he should have stopped everyone doing this, but he did not. He became a part. Even he came out of his trenches and he started meeting the soldiers from German side. So, in between the war, in the Christmas day, they started making friends. You cannot imagine, dearest Coney, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of the Fids officer who approached me, hands outstretched. Hans Wolf, he said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. I am from Dusseldorf. I play cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. Here, Jim McPherson is addressing Coney and he's saying that, Coney, you cannot understand what I was feeling. There was the head officer from German side who came towards me. He stretched his hand out to shake hand with me, and after that he told me his name. His name was Hans Wolf, and he said that he plays a cello, which is an musical instrument. He plays that, and he lives in Dusseldorf, and he wishes Jim McPherson happy Christmas. Captain Jim McPherson, I replied, and a happy Christmas to you too. I'm a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. Here, Jim McPherson gives his introduction to the captain of the other side. He says that he's a teacher and he's from Dorset, which is the west of England, and he wishes him happy Christmas too. Ah, Dorset? He smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. He shared my rum ration and his excellent sausage, and we talked. Coney, how we talked. He spoke almost perfect English, but it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset, never even been to England. He had learned all he knew of England from school and from reading books in English. Here, at this point, when Jim McPherson gives his introduction to Hans Wolf, he says that he's from Dorset. Hans Wolf gets excited and he says that he knows Dorset very well. He knows about England too. In between these talks, they both exchange their food and drinks and enjoy together. And Hans Wolf speaks English very well. And at last, Jim McPherson comes to know that he had never been to Dorset or England. Whatever he knows about England or Dorset or the English that he speaks so well, all this is learned from the school that he studied in and from reading books. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book, Far from the Madding Crowd. Now, here at this point, Hans Wolf gives his introduction and he says that he knows about Dorset and English and everything. And after that, at last, Hans Wolf says that his favorite writer is Thomas Hardy, and his favorite book is Far from the Madding Crowd. So, out there in no man's land, we talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. So, here, both the captains, that is the Hans Wolf and Jim McPherson, talk about their interest and hobbies and what they like. In between, they talk about what are the books and the authors they like. And they talk about even many more things. They talk about Bathsheba, Gabriel Ork on the Sergeant Troy, and they even talk about the Dorset, the place where Jim McPherson belongs to. He had a wife and one son, born just 6 months ago. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khakis and grey everywhere, all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. Here, Hans Wolf gives more information about himself. He says that he's married, he has got a wife, and he has got one son who's just 6 months old. That means this son is born just 6 months ago. And after, in between these talks, when Jim McPherson looks towards the army men in the no man's land, he sees that the grey coats and the khaki coats are playing with each other. They're enjoying so much. They are smoking together, laughing together, they are drinking and eating together. Hans Wolf and I shared what was left of our wonderful Christmas cake, Coney. He thought that marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. I agreed. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, Coney. At this point, Jim McPherson addresses Coney again, and he says that there was a little Christmas cake left, and Hans Wolf and Jim McPherson shared this cake and ate it together. He said that they both agreed to each and everything. They were so friendly, and in between he remembers that Hans Wolf was his enemy, and though they agreed to each and everything and they enjoyed together. And after that, at last, Jim McPherson says that he had never seen such a kind of Christmas party that he was having at that point of time. So students, this is all about today's video. We'll complete the lesson here today in this video, and we'll continue with the rest of the lesson in the next video. And after that, I'll help you out with the question answers and the other exercises. I'll provide you the worksheets. So this is Anup sir saying thank you and goodbye.